How effective have law enforcement agencies been at using the money that they have? I think extremely well. They've been performing extremely well. They're making arrests. They're answering calls for service. That's about the only role that these police agencies can engage in right now because they don't have the service. I mean, they have to respond to calls for service. Calls for service today are off the charts. They can't keep up. If all, as a law enforcement officer, a patrol car, if all they're doing is responding from one call to the next, to the next, to the next, when is the preventive patrol going on in these crime-ridden neighborhoods? There is none. They don't have time for that. When is the enforcement, the broken windows enforcement going on? None of that's happening. All they're doing is answering calls for service. That's why I said having cops on the street matters. So the police are out there, and when they do get time to engage in some of this, it's usually after the fact. A robbery occurs, then the police respond. A burglary occurs, the police respond. A car theft occurs, then the police respond. We're never in the preventive mode. Why? Because there's no consistent, visible, routine patrol going on. So we make arrests, we send them through the criminal justice system, and these people get circulated right back onto the street, these career criminals, through some social engineering experiment that we know doesn't work. These programs that I talked about. Things like community corrections, restorative justice, second chance programs. These things don't work. These things were spawned by intellectual elites in colleges and universities. These are nothing more than experiments being conducted using human lives. And that stuff really bothers me. Why would you take a known career criminal? You look at his criminal past. This is all he's done. I call them career criminals because that's what they do for a lifestyle. It's their lifestyle, committing crimes. Why would you take that individual and think you could put together some sort of, job training program or whatever and stick them back in the community where there are no jobs? The unemployment rate for black males is 32%. Where are they going to find work? But you're sticking them back into the community to do what? What they do best. Prey on other people, assault people, steal their property at gunpoint, shoot, sell drugs, get engaged in firefights. To me, that's cruel and inhumane. So when a cop, in terms of utilizing the resources that we have, when we make the arrest and that guy's back out before the ink dries on police reports, what does that tell the cop? The cop begins to question themselves, why do I bother? And what does it tell the community? Hey, that guy just got arrested 2 weeks ago for a shooting, and here he is back in our community. People give up. People stop calling the police. So you see the domino effect that this has. And that's why I said the police service is a firewall. And that's really, that's what we do well. We stand between law-abiding citizens, law and order, and the criminal element. But if these risk factors that I talked about, the poverty, the school failure, things like kids being born into single-parent families, which increases the risk for criminal involvement. Then for every guy you take off the street, a new one's coming into the system. So the political class needs to focus on that. And let me and other law enforcement executives, Chief Ed Flynn, Milwaukee Police Department, let us deal with the strategies that we know work. And right now we're doing this in the face of this pushback from criminal advocates that want to keep these people from being locked up and having them do their time or perform their service in the community when we know all they're going to do is go back to criminal behavior. It sounds as if I'm asking for more resources for public safety. Damn right I am. All right, I've been in the streets. I know what works. Cops matter. You have to have the resources, human resources, boots on the ground, I like to call it, for a consistent, visible presence. That is an effective crime control strategy. When criminals are roaming our streets and our neighborhoods, they have to be afraid that every time they turn around, they're going to see a squad car driving by. They're going to look up and see a bicycle officer driving by or down the street. Or they're going to look up and see a beat officer down the street. They're going to look up and see that the community is fully engaged with their police department, that even if the cop isn't there, they know that this neighborhood now is the eyes and ears, and they know who I am, or at least they can give a description if they don't know me personally, and that's going to assist us even sometimes before the crime occurs. Hey, officer, I've seen this guy coming around the neighborhood here. He's driving a blue Buick. I don't know, he's making stops. People are coming up to the car. There was an argument the other day. It looks like some gang activities going on. Here's what they look like. So that we can go out and do field interviews, okay, before the crime occurs. All right, so that is going to assist us in terms of the preventive mode, because where crime and violence thrive is where perpetrators know the community's not involved and the police are a long way away. All right, and that's why I know that stuff works. But I'll go back to the fact that it is the most elementary and first priority of government to secure the personal safety of your citizens. All right? If that's your highest priority, you need to communicate that through a budget. So here's what I would do, because I know that the resources are not finite for city and county political leaders. You have to prioritize. What's important to us here? We're going to do these three things, and we're going to do these three things well. We're going to fix our schools. We're going to get jobs to this community, employ people, and we're going to have a safe environment for people to live. And everything else is going to have to come after that. All right? There's plenty of money within the city budget to prioritize those three things without raising taxes. But I'll even add this. There are very few people in the city and county of Milwaukee who would object to more resources, more money for public safety, and less money for some of these other things. I don't hear anybody anywhere I go saying, well, we spend too much on public safety. Everywhere I go, and I'm in these neighborhoods, all right, we can never find the police. They come long after, and again, this is through no fault of the police. They're not taking their time. I mean, on average, it takes, in the city of Milwaukee, on average, 59 minutes for an officer to respond to a call of a sexual assault. 59 minutes. That's an hour. Can you imagine a woman being raped, and even afterwards you call the police and you have to wait an hour for a squad to show up? Right, on average in the city of Milwaukee, the call of a sound of shots, that's the gunfire, the thing I talked about where 4 innocent bystanders hit by gunfire in the last 2 weeks. It takes an hour for a squad to show up. Again, the cops aren't taking their time. And I say cops, again, I'm a career cop. I say that affectionately. They're not taking their time. They don't have the resources they don't have a car available to send to that. So you as a citizen call in, hey, there's some gunfire going on. And it takes an hour for a squad to come up. You know what you're going to say to yourself after a while? Why do I bother calling? Why do I even get involved here? It frustrates people. So yes, I am asking for additional resources. We have rising crime in the city and county of Milwaukee. Why would you spend fewer resources when crime is going up? I mean, it's the most idiotic thing that I've ever heard of. It would almost be like, I used to like to use the medical model. All right, you have something wrong with you. You go to the doctor identifies something and says, we're going to put you on a treatment thing here for this ailment, and I'm going to want to see you every couple of weeks to see how it's responding. And that's like the doctor saying, well, I want to keep costs down, so I should be seeing you every 2 weeks, but we're going to see you every 6 weeks instead. When it might get worse in that time, why would you cut down on the medical visits for, to treat something that might turn out to be fatal for you, right? You would increase the medical treatment. You would increase the visits. You'd increase the tests for that ailment. Well, that's what I'm talking about here, because that's the model I use. Crime going up, we need an infusion of more public safety dollars to deal with it. Because the only one that's benefiting from this, these cuts in public safety, are the criminals. They're loving this.